90% of people have no idea about this information about cavities. They don't know how cavities start, they don't know how to stop them, they don't know where they come, they don't know which areas to target if you're trying to eliminate cavities. And once you understand this information, I promise you're gonna cut down on your cavity rate, and there's gonna be like no dental work for your dentist to do when you go back and see the dentist, which is a great thing. Number one is that cavities always grow. A lot of people don't know this, but once you have a cavity, it's always going to grow. There's a certain point that the cavity gets into the tooth, and beyond that point, that cavity will never stop growing no matter what you do. Brush it every night, you floss it every night, you put fluoride on it, your dentist is checking and taking x-rays, the cavity will always slowly grow until it gets through the enamel, then it gets into the dentin, and then it just balloons up, and that's when you're at risk of a sensitive tooth, a root canal, further dental treatment. You just want to avoid that altogether, so just know that cavities always grow past a certain point. If your dentist diagnoses a cavity and you're in the dental chair and you ignore it, just know that that will always grow slowly till it gets through a certain point in the tooth, and then it will grow much, much faster. The next thing most people don't know is that it can be arrested early. So there's a thing called an incipiency. It's basically like a baby cavity or a start of a cavity, and that's before the cavity gets through that point. That can be reversed. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet about if a cavity can be reversed. A cavity technically can never be reversed. It'll always grow. But an incipiency is basically like a start of a cavity, and you do have the ability to reverse it. The other thing that most people don't know about cavities is that it is very relatively inexpensive to fix the earlier you catch it. If you catch it before it becomes a full-blown cavity, it's free. You just put fluoride on a piece of floss your teeth, and you can actually reverse it. Or a lot of patients actually just floss like normal and they can reverse it. So that's absolutely free. Once it gets to a certain point and there's a little tiny cavity, it's actually pretty easy. We can actually just get it out with a sealant. We can take a drill in there. You don't even have to be numb. No, you're not gonna feel this. Drill that little tiny cavity that's maybe 1 millimeter deep out, put a sealant on top of it, voila, you're done. That costs like the cost of a sealant. If it gets a little bit deeper, we can do filling. But as the expenses grow, that's as the so as the cavity grows, the more sensitivity you're gonna have, the more extensive dental treatment you're gonna have, the harder it is to get you numb, and it's just going to be that much more difficult to get numb. It's gonna be more sensitive, and the more expensive treatment is generally when those cavities are really, really, really deep. The next thing that most people do not realize is that cavities cannot be felt. You cannot feel a cavity. Most patients cannot feel a cavity. Patients have no idea that the cavity was there before I diagnosed it. Even after I diagnosed it, they're like, well, I don't even feel it. It must not be a problem. But patients cannot feel cavities until it is too late or until it gets close to the nerve. Once your cavity gets close to the nerve, that means it's kind of go time for maybe a pulp liner, which is basically like a little medication that we put in there to buffer so that you don't need a root canal. Sometimes that's a 50-50 shot. It doesn't work all the time. But usually when you can feel a cavity, it means that you need further treatment, like you're probably going to need a root canal. That would be things like cold sensitivity that lingers. That would be something like it hurts every time you're chewing. Those are bigger problems that are not just cavities. They're caused by cavities, but you generally cannot feel cavities. Another thing is that most people don't realize most cavities are on the back teeth. I find very little, and this is just my own opinion here, that I find very little cavities on the front teeth. If you were to count the amount of cavities that I have on the back teeth versus the front teeth, it is very heavily weighted in the back teeth. I would say 80 to 90% of cavities are on the back molars, the far back molars. If you have wisdom teeth, it's generally going to be 90% of those are on those back molars, the second molars, the first molars. But on your front teeth, you generally do a really good job of cleaning them at home, and they don't do a majority of your biting and grinding, and the decay seems to be more in the back teeth, in my opinion, than the front teeth. Another thing is most cavities are in between the teeth. So if you were to look at a rate of cavities, in my opinion, in my own private practice, most cavities are in between the teeth, probably 90% of them, and not on the tops and not on the sides. Why are they not on the sides of the teeth? Because you do a good job of brushing and flossing, and your tongue gets rid of a lot of those cavities or potential cavities in those areas. In between the teeth, you have the two teeth hitting each other, and right below the contact point is where we're trained as dentists to find where the cavities are. They look like little dark triangles in between the teeth. And those are very, very, very common. That's why we take those 4 x-rays every time you come in, or every year. Once a year, you get these x-rays, and that's what we're looking for, is cavities in between the teeth. Most cavities are in between the teeth. A minority of cavities are on the sides of the teeth. There are some that are on the top of the teeth that your toothbrush cannot get in there and keep clean. But just keep that in mind, that flossing is so important compared to brushing for that exact reason. Another thing most people don't realize is they're not targeting decay. They're just brushing their teeth really aggressively and throwing their toothbrush out, or buying this prescription fluoride, or doing this or doing that, or just letting the dentist or the hygienist clean their teeth for them. And they're not really that worried about it at home because they don't realize how to target cavities. If you want to target cavities, go in between your teeth and target the back teeth rather than the front teeth. You need to floss all the teeth, but I generally recommend start flossing in the back instead of the front. It's kind of reverse of what most people do. And I'm just taking a wild guess here. I don't think that people realize dentists do not want to find cavities. We don't want to do fillings. We want to find less work for you. And this is for most dentists, including myself. I don't want to find a lot of work to do in your mouth. I want to find a cavity-free mouth. That means I'm doing my job. You're doing your job at home. My hygienist is doing their job, and everybody's on a team together to fight cavities. There are a lot of people who just like kind of don't trust dentists, and they think that we're just out there to get rich. We're out there to like find cavities. And every once in a while you'll hear these scams or these stories about people who are drilling on teeth unnecessarily, but that's just but that's like a very, very minor subset of dentists. Most dentists, I would say a vast majority, if not all dentists, are just there to find no cavity. We don't want to find cavities. So that's another thing I think most patients don't really understand, is that we don't want to find cavities and we don't want to find fillings to do, especially if it's in the back of the mouth. It's actually a lot harder to do a filling than you would realize, because we have to get you numb fully. We have to calm down your anxiety. Working the back of the mouth is like working in a really dark cave. It's dark back there. There's saliva. There's a tongue whipping around all over the place. It is not something we generally enjoy doing. Some people don't even, I know dentists that don't like doing fillings. They literally hate doing fillings. They're like, if I have to do another filling on a back tooth, I'm just gonna scream. I don't wanna do it. I'd rather nobody gets cavities on those back teeth or any other teeth. So most dentists aren't out there to get you or inflate whether something is an incipiency or a cavity. Most dentists are just out there to keep your teeth healthy. And if we don't find anything, we've done our job, and that's very satisfying for us. And there you go. Now you're in the minority, the top 10% of patients that know much more about decay, how it works, how to prevent it, how to stop it. And this is going to cut down on your dental bills. You're going to have less shots. You're going to have less dental treatment. You're not going to be sitting in the dentist chair. You're going to be sitting more in the hygienist chair, which is a comfortable one where they're cleaning your teeth. The dentist comes in and says, you have no cavities. So I promise you, if you really hone in on these things, you're going to have less cavities. You're going to have less problems, less decay. Your dentist is going to be happy. You're going to be happy, your hygienist is going to be happy. And if you enjoyed watching this video, hit this button down here, which is the subscribe button, so you can see more videos. I'm just a dentist, and thank you again for watching.